Hello, we're live today. Welcome to another weekly Wednesday WUGE update. Actually, number 34. And to give you a little fun fact, today is, my phone's, I'm learning new things. But today, actually, tomorrow, March 25th, will be 1 year since Bill and I purchased the West Union Grain Elevator. How crazy is that? We've been at this project for a year already, and what a year it's been for everybody. But I think it was a great time to be able to work because everything else was shut down and we didn't have a lot of other things going on. So we did get a lot of work done at the WUGE, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. But today, I'm trying to learn some video production skills and different things like that. So I'm using a new live streaming software and I'm testing it out. So we're going to do a little live streaming today, and I have a special guest. I wrote these great notes and then I forget what I'm saying. We're not professionals and we're not speakers. We're just here to have some fun. So there's my disclaimer. My guest today is Miss Leila Shear. I've been working with Leila for almost 20 years, I would say. And she hired me back 20 years ago to work out in Seattle in the event business. And that's how I got started. And she's can't get rid of me ever since. And she's become a great friend, a great mentor. I've learned lots of great business advice from her, lots of great work things. But I've also learned how to pick out really good wines, and I've learned about really good food and learn how to be a great, self-confident, positive woman from her too. So let's welcome Leila.
Hi. You're doing fabulous, by the way. Way better than I would have done on that. I would have just fallen over.
I had even better notes and then I forgot, but I hit most of the points.
Yeah, wait till I start talking and we'll see where those notes go out the window.
So I like to tell you, Leila and I meet about once a week. We're colleagues and we work together, and she's out in Seattle and I'm here in Minnesota. We also have another colleague we work with too, and we meet with him once a week. And sometimes we talk about work. Sometimes we talk about what's the best natural deodorant. We were just talking about that half an hour ago.
We rabbit hole.
So we learn all kinds of things. Sometimes we solve the world's problems. Sometimes we don't. Right? So
we give ourselves grace for that.
We do, and we have fun. And we're really visual people, and I think I want to show our audience what we do, what we've been doing in events. And I have a cute little slideshow to show you from way back in the beginning when we started almost 20 years ago. I think it's 19, but that's close. So
I'm really glad you didn't put this in order.
Right? I'm going to play my little slideshow, and you can see some of the events and graphics we've done. All right, so that gives you a little taste of what we do and mainly working events. So let's ask Leila some questions. I don't know, you hired me from small town Minnesota, this girl just coming out of college. I think I worked in Omaha, a job before at a plastics company doing labels, but you interviewed me and brought me out, And what made you hire a small town Minnesota girl who's never really been out of the state and kind of quiet and shy at the time? I know you would never guess that now.
Your resume was beautiful. But I mean, in all seriousness, you were the one initially, like you said, we're very visual people. I received your resume in a fully designed printed envelope. The paper was nice. The resume was actually designed. So you had the layout in there. The attention to detail was showing just on the resume portion before I even got into your portfolio. And the other candidates were internal candidates, and there was a lot of pressure from within to hire internally. And I literally, one of those resumes was sent to me through interoffice mail, photocopied and folded up into a square. And you showed me just that you had the willingness to partner and to learn. You might not have had that hands-on experience like they did, that, the years of it, but you weren't just showing me what you had done. You were showing me what you could do, what you wanted to do. And there was that willingness to partner and to learn and to challenge me to be better. And that's what I look for when I'm hiring somebody, is somebody who is better than me, somebody who makes me rise up and challenges me and questions me and collaborates. And you were that person. It's about the team. You are an asset to the team.
Cool. And now this question, I love asking this question when I'm on events, because everybody always has a different answer, and it's never the same because nobody ever seems to go to school for events. So
They do now.
They do now, I know. Mm-hmm. How did you get into the event world?
Short story. My sister introduced me to a lot of people that were in the event industry, and way back when, actually, even before I moved to Seattle, I met a bunch of those people. There were a lot of musicians and artists and firefighters, people who had a leading passion, something else, and were using the event business to make that happen, to travel, get the money together and go, or do whatever they needed to. I'm still in really close friends with a lot of those people, because the event business is filled with wonderful people. Mm-hmm. It was a temp job, and I started out kicking carpet, working drayage, building exhibits, rigging banners, and then they found out that I did print design and graphic design, and I got suckered into going into the sign shop, and it just went from there. And once you get in, you can't leave. It was never my goal to be in the events business. Didn't even know it existed. But I've tried a few times to get out.
Oh, everybody tries, but they just get a different job within the event. You can't get out once you get in.
You can't.
Everybody knows this.
Nope.
And it's not bad. It becomes a great big family, and we just get excited to go on events and see everybody again, and it's great. We have a fun time.
Well, it's challenging. It's something that you really have to think on your feet and problem solve, and you're building something quickly. And it's the team. You could not do that level of detail on anything without having that team of people, and like you said, their family.
Yeah.
Stick together.
And then when you are out having coffee, meeting new people, and they ask, what is it that you do? How do you answer that question? Because I have a hard time with that one.
Half the time I just sort of mumble something and avert my gaze. It's sort of a two-part answer, because most of the time when people think of an event, they picture a wedding or a small party, something that is a little more common. Our events will run the gamut of 150 attendees to 20,000 attendees, and each one has multiple integrated components if you've done it right. There's an educational component, like hands-on lab sessions, certification testing, that sort of thing, or networking, like parties and concerts, and I'm talking full-scale concerts, happy hours, one-on-one meetings, or business generation elements like trade shows, exhibits, that sort of thing. So you have to explain that part of it, but then our job, we focus on the look and feel, the environmental portion of it. So we are the ones that are using creative to design the space, the signage, the collateral, the demand generation piece of it to get people there, make it cohesive. So it's not just a graphic, it goes into the structures, the lighting, how it makes your attendee feel. So we are taking multiple buildings, and by that, we'll have an event that is an entire convention center, a sporting arena, and hotels, and they're all part of one event. So you have to make them all look the same in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
We use design to tell a story, to get people efficiently from point A to point B, and to also strengthen our client's brand at the same time. So it's very involved, and that is a very short-ish explanation of what it is that we do.
Nope.
We
Makes sense.
make things pretty. We try
Make
to.
things pretty. We make pretty pictures, is what I
Yep.
like to say.
Yep, we try to make things pretty.
Try to. But yeah, the brand thing is a big piece, and connecting it all from the little signs we make,
Mhm.
to going digital, to something big, to even bringing in the sponsors and connecting them to the conference look and feel too.
Yes.
It's all kind of goes together, and stuff people don't really think about until you get on site and see something weird and you're like, that's weird. But if it all makes sense, it shouldn't bother you. That's how it should be.
Yeah, you shouldn't even really notice it. It should just take you along your path. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah. So I know COVID has affected our events a lot. We did talk a lot about pre-COVID, and do you have like how many events do you think we have done pre-COVID, or how many cities, or got any ideas?
We've hundreds of events. I mean, over the years, I don't even know if I would want to count them. Hundreds and hundreds of events of all kinds, and all over the world, all over this country. I mean, in this country, our big city events would be what we've had them in Orlando, Dallas, DC, New York, New Orleans, Portland,
Vegas, Atlanta,
Vegas, San Diego,
Vancouver,
everywhere, Vancouver, and then in Europe and Asia, everywhere. I mean, we've worked in New Delhi, Amsterdam, Madrid, Barcelona, Berlin, Beijing, Edinburgh, Scotland, Cartagena, Colombia, Jakarta, Indonesia, Lisbon.
Yeah, it's just
a few others. All over the world.
All over.
Which is a whole other experience. I mean, you're working with different cultures and different suppliers that you've worked with before, and that's where you really have to be flexible and step outside the box, step outside labeling yourself as this is what I do, because you work with people. You have to team. You have to be part of the team. Collaborate.
And I feel like we're kind of the connectors too, from not only making the graphics and deciding where they go or what we're doing, but how is it going to print? Who's going to print it? How are we going to get it installed? How are we going to work with the installers and making this all come together nicely?
Exactly. And that's where we have a very varied background in various things. And that's part of working events. I think everyone who works in our industry can say that they've touched on areas outside their roles many times. I've, working the international events, I've done international shipping. I've been the labor. So I know what it takes to build something. And when you're doing design, you keep that in mind. I don't ever want to design something that cannot be produced, that cannot be installed the way that I'm envisioning it. So you almost work backwards on that. You have to know, on an event, it's built out. It's built from the scratch. Your whole infrastructure, your power, your internet, everything is built from scratch. So you design keeping all of that in mind, whether it's your specialty or not. And that's an important part. And of course, the sustainability piece of it. That's something that's always been important to you and I, of making sustainability on events, lowering that carbon footprint to as much as humanly possible, to make that the norm as opposed to the option. And we put a lot of work into that over the last 20 years where we could.
Yeah, did what we could. But I think to go back to your point about working backwards, I think that's the number one thing I learned from you. Start with your end game and go backwards from there and design that. So it makes it easier for everybody.
And you're doing it hopefully once. You design
Right.
you design it correctly to begin with.
Right. Correctly. So this little thing called COVID hit us, and what happened to your business?
Well, it was devastating on many levels. I mean, we were set up to have one of our best years ever, and I think there's a lot of people that could say that. And we lost it all within a month. Actually, yesterday was the year anniversary where Washington State went on full lockdown. So
Oh,
that was the day that it's like everything's done. We're out of work. And as devastating as that is, and it's easy to feel the impact it has on us individually, thinking it further, stepping back, is that each event employs hundreds of people. Each event generates revenues for the hotels, the restaurants, the transportation, the shops, the clubs, et cetera. There's literally millions of dollars that the event industry will bring into a local economy, and all of that just stopped, which means not only did the events people lose their work, but all of those employees and all of those other businesses lost all of their work.
yes.
And the ripple effect of that is just staggering, and it'll be felt for years. And it's horrible to watch and to witness that fall apart, and so quickly.
Yes, really quickly. Seemed like just overnight, really. Kind of was, but yeah.
Yep. All stuff that we take for granted, and I feel we were, in a way, very fortunate with our little team.
I think so too. So we'll keep chugging along because we're like, okay, what can we learn now? Where do we go digitally? So we're kind of pushing forward, learning new, like this live video production stuff I'm trying out, seeing what we can do here, doing animation, they're doing the virtual events. So we've been working more on those.
Yeah.
Different pieces.
Yeah. I think that having that broad base of experience allowed us to be nimble, and also because we were smaller. I mean, we're responsible for ourselves, and that is a huge thing. So we were able to quickly shift focus and perceive gaps that were in there between live events versus digital events, and use this time to develop new skills and strengthen other skills. I mean, we never had the time to breathe before.
Yes.
And, with so much out of our control, we focused on what we have, and what we have is a really great and collaborative team.
Right. I know on my side here, I have this little whiteboard, and I would make notes like, oh, I want to learn this program. Oh, I should look into this. Now I'm like, oh, look, I'm doing some of this stuff finally after how many years. So
yeah,
it's fun to see that and see where we can use it future-wise too.
Yeah, which goes back to my very first thing of why I initially hired you, was that challenge. I mean, you've kept challenging me throughout this year to keep moving on.
Come on, Leila, let's learn how to make websites.
And then I just go, I don't learn how to make a website, but okay.
We're working on it.
Yes.
Be slower. So how do you see the events moving forward as we're slowly coming back?
I think live events will come back, because meeting in person is invaluable. I mean, you can't. I mean, it's just like any personal relationship. In-person conversations, interactions, it can't be beat. But I think I know live events will be a hybrid model. The digital component extends the reach, and it's been needed for a long time, even just on, if I take the extended reach out just on sustainability section of it, I really appreciate the digital component of an event. And it's really impressive to me how the events industry has been able to, I'm going to use the word pivot as much as has been able to pivot and do the digital side of it, to come up with it so quickly. And there's obviously been a lot of glitches. There's always going to be a lot of glitches, but it really, to me, showed the strength and willingness of an industry to survive and to improve on it. And I think that will keep going with the live events. I think they'll probably be smaller, at least initially, but the digital side of it will still be there and will improve.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we were going more digitally, but I think just this year we had to go faster.
It forced the hand, which is good. I mean, there's a positive to all of this. At least I try. It forced the hand. It made it happen. I mean, there's a lot of this digital component has been bandied about for years, and there's a lot of people in the events industry who have been pushing forward and have hit walls, and that wall came down fast.
Yes, crazy fast. Yes, so I think moving forward, we'll learn new stuff, bring in the old stuff, get them all
Always.
together. Yeah.
That's what keeps our brain moving. Don't rest on your laurels.
Always learning.
Always learning. Always finding something new out there.
Hey, I just thought of something. People who know Leila, she travels with this giant road case. What's your favorite thing that you carry in your giant road case? It's giant. Like, we put a person in there to see if she would fit on site once, and she did. She is about my size.
She's tiny.
She's smaller than me.
she's tiny. But she fit pretty comfortably in there, even with the lid closed. Poor thing. Sorry, Laura. My favorite thing in the road case, that's difficult. But I think probably every person on show site will carry, you've got to have your water bottle, you've got to have a knife for opening boxes, and you have to have a wine opener, because you're going to need wine at some point. So
it's important on site.
Yes, you need that on site. And shoes. And the most important thing is actually multiple pairs of comfortable shoes. You can walk 20 to 30,000 steps a day on show site easily. You need good shoes.
Yeah, I remember when the Fitbits just got popular and we all started wearing them on site. We're like, oh my goodness, that's how many steps we really take in a day. Yeah, it was weird just to see that number.
Yeah, some things are better not known, frankly.
Yeah, because I think I felt more tired at the end of the day when you saw how many steps you actually took.
That's very true. But then, of course, in the true way, it started competition, and that led into bringing the attendees in on it, creating an attendee competition. So there's always.
That's right. We did.
Triggers.
Yeah, kind of fun stuff to do. Wow. Any final remarks or comments you have for us? Words of wisdom?
No, not at all.
I'll put you on the spot.
Put me on. I have no words of wisdom at all.
Man. Maybe next time.
No. I was trying to think of because both you and I come from small towns, and that whole thing of, step out, give it a chance, and try working for yourself. I mean, developing something else. There is nothing that says you can't develop a business out there. If there's something that's passion for you, look into it. I mean, look at what you're doing with the WUGE. I'm very proud of that. You're pursuing that. It's something you've always wanted to do, and that's you can do it. It's just the biggest hurdle is yourself.
It really is, because it took me how many years to get to the place where we're ready to do this, but I guess it wasn't time. But just seeing like, okay, little steps at a time, we'll see what happens. I just feel I'd rather try instead of die with my dream. Let's try it.
Yeah, and that's just the thing is, if it doesn't work, it's not a failure. You tried and you did it. And that's the other thing too, is to not get hung up in if something doesn't work. You learn from it and you move on. If you lose a job, there's skills in that job that you can take somewhere else. You can apply to somewhere else. It doesn't mean that you are now unemployable because you don't have that business or that job. It's just take stock of what you have, what you can control, and go.
Right? Use what you got.
Curse a little bit. You cut back my cursing over the years. Sarah used to sit behind me, and I closer I get to on-site work, I think the fouler my mouth gets. I apologize. I apologize to your mother for this. Uh, but I would just be sitting there cursing, and I'd hear Sarah go, "Hey." And so now I still have that little voice in my head, whether she's near me or not. I like, oh,
Oh, good. I'm in your head. That's good.
you're in my
head. Well, thank you for joining me today, Leila. I appreciate it. I know I owe you big time for this. And I hope we all learned a little bit more about events. And thanks for joining us on our Wednesday update. And everybody, have a great rest of your week.